Welcome back to the MMA Split and another feature of Boxing Briefs. This time with the man himself, Tommy T, back to discuss the fight that no one else who's part of the MMA Split team wants to talk about. Josh refuses to discuss the Paul brothers. Slide doesn't seem as keen on this fight, which is strange, considering that he's usually a bit of a fan of these things. So, Tom, it's just you and me to get amped about Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley.
It's the fucking biggest fight of the year. How the hell are they not excited about it? It's Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Oh my God, man. I've been waiting for this for like 3 months.
You could argue that ever since maybe he knocked out Nate Robinson, we've been waiting for this level of fight for Jake Paul for at least a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer. This is what I'm going to say about it. It's very rare that you have a fight where you literally have no idea of what's going to happen. Like literally no idea. Every other fight, when we watch pros, we've seen them fight before. We have a general idea of what the level is. I have no fucking clue what's going to happen. I could see Jake Paul getting knocked out in a minute. I could see Tyron Woodley getting knocked out. I could see either guy winning on decision. I could see it being a bad fight, a good fight. Who the fuck knows? But I'm really curious about it. And let me just ask you this before we get into anything else. Who straight away are you kind of leaning towards? I know that obviously you're going to talk about the odds and they're very much in Jake Paul's favor from a betting line, but where's your kind of mindset going into this week?
Okay, I've got two mindsets. Obviously, if I follow my heart, I'm going to go with Tyron Woodley because I'm a massive fan of Woodley. He's a fucking world champion. I followed his career for a very long time. So, of course, a big fan there. But then again, I do like Jake Paul. I'm not a hater. I massively respect what he's done for the boxing community. And mate, he fucking knocked out Ben Askren in round one. It's insane to say, but not a lot of people do that, which makes this fight so interesting. So literally, as you said, I'm gonna go with my heart on this one, which will be T Woodley. But don't get me wrong, I can see the way he'll lose, and I can see the way he'll win.
Just to interject, because I find it very interesting, and maybe this sort of speaks to maybe the fact that people don't give him the kind of credit that he deserves. But I find it interesting that you look at Tyron Woodley, a pick for Tyron Woodley as picking with your heart over your head, when Tyron Woodley is the seasoned MMA world champion and Jake Paul is the YouTuber. But do you think that just speaks to the fact that whether you like this kid or not, he's 6'1". He's been an athlete since he was at high school. He's recorded as running a 440 in the 40-yard dash, which might not make as much sense to kind of European sports fans, but in terms of how they measure speed and physicality and explosiveness in American sports, that's ridiculous. That is NFL edge rusher level speed.
Him and his brother, they're both ridiculous.
Yeah, he's considerably larger. Tyron Woodley's a big guy, but he's 5'9". He's not going to have the reach. He's not going to have the height. There's just a difference in broadness and just general size. Jake Paul's if this was like an actual professional fight, they wouldn't be competing in the same weight class. Tyron Woodley, I think they're going to be fighting at cruiserweight or something. Tyron Woodley's probably just going to walk in and weigh that. Whereas I imagine Jake Paul...
That's what he said. He said that on the Ariel Helwani interview a couple of days back. That it's the best he's ever felt because he's not had to cut weight. And he's literally just going to walk into the ring and knock him out. So he says. Now,
that may make a difference, but Jake Paul is going to be cutting weight to get to that weight. You know what I mean? So we're talking about a bigger guy. Woodley's not going to be able to bully him. And the real question is that, Woodley's a better striker than Askren. Without question, he's knocked guys out. But he really only has one punch. He's not a Max Holloway. He's not a Calvin Kattar. He's not a guy that you look at and go, or a Diaz or a Masvidal, where you're like, oh, the combinations, the hands flow, he's got that great jab. And Jake Paul's had enough money to train with some of the best boxing trainers in the world consistently for 3 years. At an age where he wasn't that old when he started. I mean, he's old in maybe a boxing term, but he's progressed a lot. And there's going to be little things that he understands, little ranges, little comfortabilities, little head movements that maybe Woodley's not going to be as used to or comfortable with, particularly in his first boxing match. Having said that, though, I mean, how are we even in a world where, like, this is what I keep thinking about. 3 years ago, I thought Deji had a chance to beat Jake Paul.
Oh no.
Like, that's what we were talking about. I thought fucking Anis and Gibb might be able to beat Jake Paul. And the fact that we're now looking at this situation where, whether he's a boxer or not, he's the favorite to beat Tyron Woodley, who, okay, is 39, but fuck me, have a look at his physique and tell me that's the physique of a 39-year-old man.
That is a beast.
It's crazy.
That is a beast. That's the thing. And this is what I'm going to touch on the odds now, because obviously Jake Paul is the favorite and he is expected to win this. But mate, have you seen the odds? He's currently at like 1.44. So that means if you were to put 100 euros on Jake Paul and he wins, say he wins, you're only making 144 euros. Like, it's only 44 euros profit. For me, as a betting man, it's just not worth the risk.
There is another side of this, though, which, and I completely agree. I think the problem with something like this, and this is what I said earlier, we don't actually know what's going to happen. So in reality, you can't view one or the other guy as the favorite because there's just too many variables. There's so many unknowns in this situation.
Especially being so close.
My worry is this. And I want to bring up sort of, why maybe Woodley's being viewed as an underdog because of his last few fights and whether or not we can take credence in that. But here's a thought that a few people have sort of brought up. No evidence, just connecting a few dots. Do you think it's possible that Woodley's been paid to make sure that he loses? And I only say it because there's so much money now in the Jake Paul business. You know what I mean? It all stops the moment he loses.
It's true. It's true. And I do think about that sometimes myself, especially when you see Askren go down in round 1. Who knows? It could be a show, but I mean, if they're doing that on Showtime, that's just not on. That's on Showtime, mate. So could you imagine, mate, if they pulled something off like that on Showtime? That, for me, that'd be crazy.
Well, you touch on a good point because we're no longer on Triller. Exactly. And I think this is something that, the first Jake Paul fight on Triller was a little bit of a sideshow. It was a little crazy. There was kind of a novelty to it. The second one, from the actual production standpoint, was an unmitigated disaster. So he's made a really good move to Showtime. I think it gives it a slight air of legitimacy. I think they've done a good job of building up to this fight. And if you look at the undercard as well, they're really using this as an opportunity to build some real fighters. So you've got the young British heavyweight, Daniel Dubois, in an absolute setup fight. Like, this guy's not, he's fighting this guy to get a knockout and build an American fan base. Yeah. And Tommy Fury is on this card as well. I honestly think if Jake Paul wins this fight, he calls out Tommy Fury.
I don't know, mate, because Jake said many times that Tommy Fury doesn't have a big following and he might not be able to sell it as well compared to Woodley.
True, but you'd be able to bank. You wouldn't have to sell it on Tommy's name. You could sell it on Fury.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a massive fight. But yeah, they both need to win on the night. That's the problem. I mean, they're both expected to, so let's see.
As for Woodley, what's there to win or lose from this? Obviously, his pride and reputation are at stake. But this is a big paycheck. It's not his sport. What do you think happens for Woodley, like, regardless win or lose? Do you think that he takes the money and retires? Do you think he looks to then take a contract with Bellator? If he wins this, do you think he tries to do other fucking stupid celebrity fights for easy money? What do you think Woodley's mentality is?
Nah, like, I'll give you, for example, like, Woodley's music is like, it's popping right now. I'm not a big fan of it myself, but one of the big reasons he's done this is for his music as well, because he knows he's going to get a bunch of streams by fighting Jake Paul. And yeah, I think this is his last fight. He's going to retire and he's just going to do his music because he's killing it with his music, mate. He is.
He is?
Especially since the Jake Paul fight.
Oh, man, I've listened to a few of it. I love Tyron Woodley, and I'm not one to criticize a man for having a creative outlet. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea.
Either. It's not mine either, but honestly, mate, he's getting the streams.
Have you ever seen that video of him, though? So it's him recording a song or trying to come up with a song, and he's got his headphones in, so you can't hear the music that's playing. you can only hear him sort of humming some voices and stuff like that without sort of the context of the music. And it went viral because all you hear him doing is just going, I'm falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you, falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Like all these fighters just kept like mimicking it and taking the piss. Everyone kind of understood it's different because you've got the sound, you're trying to like get a certain like auto synth thing that you're going to like edit later. But it's the only real song I've heard of his. It made me laugh. Talking about obviously Woodley's, he's not been on the best of runs towards the end of his UFC career.
Yeah, but mate, he is fighting absolute monsters. That's the problem.
I mean, Vicente Luque is probably one fight away from a title shot.
Literally, yeah.
Colby Covington's fighting for a title shot, for his second title shot. He's already been an interim champ. Probably had the closest fight Usman's had with anybody so far. Gilbert Burns is a beast. And Usman is the pound for pound number one fighter in the world right now. Like, these aren't bums. And I think maybe this is, I don't know. I think there's a real possibility that we could kind of be reminded of this. Like, imagine if he just, it's like 8 seconds or something like that. And then everyone's like, oh, that's the difference. Because you look at the Askren one, for example. Askren was a great wrestler. But I said to you on many of occasions after I watched his fight against Damian Maia, where they stood up with each other for 2.5 rounds trying to punch each other, that I honestly think I could beat Ben Askren in a boxing match.
That was bad, mate. No, that was shocking.
Jake Paul, Ben Askren had a hip replacement. He was even worse. He had no speed. There was no threat to Jake Paul. I think this is the first time that Jake Paul might start well, but I think the real question is what happens if Woodley cracks him hard? Doesn't knock him out, but just hits him with one of those shots that suddenly makes Jake Paul hesitant. All of a sudden, he's not willing to maybe throw the right hand as much and put himself in the danger zone. These are the kind of questions that haven't been asked.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we've still not seen Jake Paul get smacked in the face, like proper. So that's what I'm waiting for. And
I know he trains with very good people, but it's also that question of when it comes down to like the hard sparring, and the guys they're bringing in, are they really working him the same way they'd be working everybody else at that boxing gym? Or is there a little thought of it's Jake Paul, don't kill the kid's confidence, don't hit him with anything too hard, he's only fighting such and such, he's going to be all right. So this is the big question. Whereas, you know, even in the loss to Vicente Luque, you know, Tyron Woodley took fucking bombs in that and was fucking legless on his feet, desperately still trying to stay up. Like, the guy does not go down easy.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, we said that about Askren, so let's see. But I mean, mate, as I said to you, mate, for the odds for the 1.44, it's just not worth it for me, in my eyes. I'd rather put, you know, €100 on Woodley and just hope for the best. And if it comes in big.
Yeah, obviously, don't bet money that you can't afford to lose. But if you've got 50 quid, 100 quid, and you're willing to have a punt, it's definitely the best odds that you're going to get. But the only thing I'd say, it is literally the most unpredictable fight.
Yeah.
There's a strong argument you could say. You look at some of the UFC matchups this weekend, there's easier fights to predict and make money on. But there's few fights that are going to be as unpredictable as this. I'm very excited. I'm a little pissed off that it's on the Sunday. I think that's a real fuck up from Showtime.
Because I mean, we've got work on Monday, don't we? So
we've got work. Also, half of this audience have got school on Monday
as well.
You know, so I know that maybe they didn't want to compete with other events that are going on Saturday. I can understand that, but equally, it's like be realistic, guys. You're not going to get more of an audience on Sunday than you are on Saturday.
No,
final question: do you think this sells well?
Yeah, massive. This is massive, mate. Honestly, I think this is going to do much better than the Ben Askren. Do you not think? This is way more unpredictable.
It's way more unpredictable, but I think, did you see the social gloves thing, the TikTok versus YouTube boxing thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you heard about all the fallout from that?
Which part, about people not getting paid, or?
Yeah, just the whole thing being an unmitigated disaster. And now this Austin McBroom guy is being sued by fucking everybody, and he's being done for fraud and all this kind of shit.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so basically, they fucked up because they assumed that if you put together all of the numbers of followers and subscribers and all this kind of stuff that everybody had, they thought just from social media, they were going to be able to get like 2.2 million pay-per-views. And what happened is Austin McBroom promised a bunch of people guaranteed money, assuming they were going to make X amount of money and there'd be enough to go around. They didn't spend any money on things like marketing or trying to do like a pay-per-view structure. Basically, they wanted it all to be this online thing. And it completely blew up in the face because not a lot of their audience are younger. They don't have disposable income and they illegally stream stuff. So basically the whole thing's completely fucked up in his face. And there's a load of people that haven't been paid because they've all said, I've been guaranteed X amount of money and there's not enough money to go around.
Do you know what the final number was on that?
I think they got 165,000.
No. Wow. Yeah. Fuck, mate. That's insane.
Yeah. And he fucked up. He literally did things like, there's something when people invest in something or like agree to be paid after the money's taken for the show, there's something that you can get, which is called the first position. And what this means is that no matter what, when it comes to paying everybody, you're the first person to get what they're owed. So even if there's not enough money to go around, it doesn't affect you because you're guaranteed to get the first of the splits, basically. He promised this to like 5 of the fighters, 3 different investors, loads of people without telling them that all these other people had it in the contracts. So all these people have seen it not make money, come in for their share, and they've all been told the same shit. So he's this kid's fucked, mate. Like this thing has been an unmitigated disaster. Even the media company he hired are suing him.
Fucking hell.
The point I bring this up for, though, is that with these social media stars, it doesn't always translate into like pay-per-view numbers in the same way. You know, it's like Ben Askren said this himself. He said he always felt that he brought in the largest number of actual paid viewers because Ben Askren at least is somebody that sold on a pay-per-view model. He's proven that people were willing to pay $50-$60 on nights where he was fighting to watch. And to an argument, you could say Woodley's done the same thing. It's always that question with Jake Paul, like, you know, these guys, their fans can convince their parents to buy merch for $15. It's a different story to mum, can I stay up till 12 o'clock to watch 2 people fight for $60?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll see. It doesn't matter because I'm old enough to watch it. I'm going to find a way to still work on Monday and watch it. And I'm very excited. I'm picking Woodley as well because I can't bring myself to pick Jake Paul, but I certainly think the kid can box. And this is going to be a good fight.
Sure. Yeah. Woodley by knockout, I'd say as well. If he does win, I think it's by knockout.
I agree. 100%. And guys, we're going to be also coming out with a pick show with Sly and Josh probably tomorrow. So look out for that. It's a very busy week for the channel this week. And everybody, enjoy the fights coming up. Bye, Dave. Bye, Laurie. Bye, Trifo.
Nice one. Cheers, man.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.